Call to order the Board of Zoning Appeals for Wednesday, November the 29th. If you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just give a brief explanation of the procedures this evening. We will have the case will be presented by staff. After that, the applicant will go ahead and make their presentation. It's at that point we'll then be open to the public for that particular case. If you want to speak on it in that time, then that's when you want to come forward and present your evidences or your for or against the particular case. After everyone has had an opportunity to speak, we'll then close the public portion. Once that's closed, we can't really open that back up until we ask you a question, and then we can talk about it further, but that opportunity will be gone, so make sure you get your questions up front, and we'll make sure those are addressed. Any document or photograph or evidence presented for each case may be accepted by the board. The chairman and myself will rule whether additional items may be offered or accepted or rejected. The person representing each case may also withdraw that document. The zoning administrator or staff member, once they've done their presentation, that's when we'll talk about, each one you will have your opportunity. And then once we've closed that, then we'll ask questions that have made presentations before the board, and then we'll confer and make a motion to approve or deny. At that point, if it's approved, then you'll come back to the staff and they'll take care of getting you certification. If it's denied, then you'll have to take it to the municipal courts to appeal it. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Bartold?
Here.
Ms. Owens?
Present.
Mr. Shupp?
Present.
Mr. Sidow?
Here.
Mr. Roberto?
Present. All right, so at this point, anyone that plans on speaking this evening, if you please raise your right hand and we affirm that you will tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth before the Board of Zoning Appeals. Say you do?
I do.
Thank you very much. When you do come to the podium, we ask that you give your name and your address for the record. These are recorded, and if need be, the transcript will be conducted from that recording. So our first case this evening would be BZA 2023-14. It's property located at 3636 Simmel Avenue. And does the staff have a presentation?
I do. This will be a brief one. BZA 2023-14 has been withdrawn by the applicant.
Okay, so we need to make a motion, or
Correct.
Okay, so we have a motion to accept the withdrawal.
I'll make the motion.
Motion second. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Bartold?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Mr. Shupp?
Yes.
Mr. Sidow?
Yes.
Mr. Roberto?
Yes, and I know some members in the audience had some questions pertaining to that. I would just ask you direct that to staff either after the meeting or during some other time, but hopefully they'll be able to answer those questions for you. So our next case would be for BZA 2023-16, property located at 2868 Compton Road. Does the staff have a presentation?
I do.
Thank you.
Forewarning everyone, we're having technical difficulties. If the screen cuts in and out and you want me to go back to something, I'd be happy to do so.
Thank you.
This is BZA 2023-16. The case summary: the applicant, Ms. Janicia King, is also the owner of the property located at 2868 Compton Road. The applicant is requesting a variance to Table 7-1 of the Colerain Township zoning resolution. The property in question is Zone R6 residential, and in this zone, the use of office is not permitted. Case details: the neighborhood has a mix of uses. The mixed-use nature of this neighborhood is unlikely to be negatively impacted by Ms. King's office. Other non-conforming businesses with higher intensity are just adjacent to Ms. King's property. The variance could also avoid what we call spot zoning. The applicant is not seeking to have the property rezoned, as this would create an example of spot zoning. Ms. King is requesting that a variance be granted to the residential use table that will allow the property in question to be used as an office. Ms. King states that the office will consist of 1 to 2 employees and minimal outside traffic. For context, spot zoning is where you take a property and you change the zone of just that property. And there is question of whether that is even legal in Ohio. It's certainly controversial. So the zoning issue we have here is Table 7.1, the residential use table. The use of office is not specifically prohibited nor permitted in residential zones. Ms. King's operation is not considered to be a home occupation for the record because she does not live in the property in question. Since the use of office is not permitted in R6, Ms. King would need BZA approval to operate an office in this zone. Our second zoning issue is 4.4.2A, a variance review criteria for the Board of Zoning Appeals. The Board of Zoning Appeals shall not be authorized to grant a variance for a use that's otherwise prohibited in a zoning district in which the property is located. Staff's opinion is that the board is at discretion to interpret this. Office is not specifically prohibited as it says in the code, even though it's not permitted, so I'm gonna leave it to staff to decide whether or not they have the authority to rule in this case. So if we draw our attention to the diagram on the screen, you'll see that the star is where Ms. King's property is. It's zoned R6 at 2868 Compton Road. There's other R6 businesses and a variety of uses in the area, including Daily Pet Lodge, Primal Imports, a used car dealer, and CTS Waterjet, which I observed on my site visit being very loud and disruptive. Ms. King's business will not be loud and disruptive, and this is a point that she will not disturb the residential character of that neighborhood in staff's opinion. Required parking spaces. There are 3 spaces required per 1,000 square feet. Ms. King's building is about 1,800 square feet, and I'll show you a parking lot momentarily. That's the driveway into said parking lot. You can see a little bit of my white car behind the tree. That's the driveway when it was a house. If you were to back out of that driveway, it would be extremely dangerous for the traffic going down that road as well as the people backing out. Ms. King, or potentially somebody before she bought the building, constructed this driveway back to a parking lot. Side note, that building across the street is CTS. Whatever they do over there is very loud. Here is the parking lot Ms. King has. As you can see, you can very easily fit 6 cars there. You can also turn around. So if anyone had a concern about backing out onto Compton Road, I believe that is alleviated by the fact that this parking lot is so large. This is the site plan, slightly irrelevant in the question we have here, but just so you can see, she's using the inside of the house as an office. Most of what she does is telehealth and going on site to visit people. She'll sometimes have people over, but it looks very legitimate, very nice and clean inside. It's somewhere I'd feel comfortable going. And this shows you a diagram of how she's using the house, just so there's no question of any unpermitted uses being used there. This is a KGIS diagram. The star is where Ms. King's property is. As you can see, there's a very large chunk in the back, that she does not intend to use for anything. The building is near the front of the property. The parking lot is under where that star is. This is just an aerial overlay of said area. If anybody would like to see street view or KGIS view, I have those both pulled up. Staff findings. We use something called the Duncan factors, which are 7 factors that we use to decide whether or not a variance should be granted or recommended at the staff level. I always put my opinion in them. They're in the packet and they're on the slide, but I bold the most important 3. Number 3, it's staff's opinion the essential character of the neighborhood would not be substantially altered and adjoining properties would not suffer a detriment as a result of granting the requested variance. Number 5, it's staff's opinion that the property owner who purchased the property did not have knowledge of the zoning restrictions. And number 7, it's staff's opinion that the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice done by granting, with the proper conditions, the requested variance. So for that reason, staff recommendation to the board is approval of the variance request with a potential condition, not necessarily required, but potential. No more than 3 staff members are present on site at the office at any given time. And that was to show that if there are 3 or less staff members, there will also be very few patients, very little disturbance to the neighbors, if any. And with that, that's the end of my presentation.
Thank you. Any questions for staff?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead, Ms. Owen.
You said that the property in question is zone R6, but
Correct.
they're surrounding, I think you named a couple of the businesses. What is the zoning of those surrounding businesses?
So I'm going to pull it up on the TV so everyone can see what you're referencing. They're all R6 until you get down to G's Caribbean style restaurant is B1, clearly around the corner. I don't think you can see it from Miss King's property. There's a couple houses between her and these other businesses that face Pippin, but that CTS Waterjet across the street is also R6. I was not able to verify whether or not they ever got approval of the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for staff? I see none. Is the applicant present? Would you like to come give your presentation, please? Well, just tell us why it's a hardship and why you want this.
I moved from the city.
Give me your name and address for the record.
Janicia King. You want my business address or my home address?
Whatever mailing address we would mail something to.
2868 Compton Road,
Thank you.
45251. So I moved from the city of Cincinnati because majority of my patients are out this way. So I am requesting this so I can be closer to a lot of my patients that I service. But majority of my patients I do see via telehealth. I do serve developmental delayed patients that live in this area. I actually have, she didn't sign up, but she's the director of nursing for the agency that I serve.
If she's going to speak, I need her to sign in.
Yeah, did she sign in?
Sorry.
or-
She did not. Just approach the bench and sign it for us.
There's that. Here's a pen for you. Yes, ma'am.
Should she go after the applicant?
She's part of her witness, so I would say that's fine.
Okay.
I check it off as people come forward. I know the other boards call in the order in which they sign in. Thank you. So you're working for Ms. King, is that what I understand? No?
I'm in contract, I contract with.
Contract,
her
okay.
agency.
Sorry, can you state your name and address for the
Yes, ma'am.
record?
Sure. Do I give the address of RMS? Okay, so it's Jennifer Delahanty, and our address is 803 Compton Road.
Thank you.
So we are an establishment of individuals with intellectual disabilities, and Janicia sees we have 48 individuals, and she sees all of our patients.
Okay.
And this location is super beneficial to us and the folks that we serve just because of mobility issues that we have with a lot of them. And she comes to our facility, but if we have acute issues that come up before Janicia is due to come into us, that office is very convenient for us to be able to take our guys to versus where we used to have to go.
Okay, thank you. Okay, what I'll do is I'll ask for people, anybody else to speak in favor for, so is your presentation complete, ma'am? Okay, so at this point, you can just go and be seated, and then I'll call other people up. Thank you very much. Anyone else speaking in favor? Mr. Gilbert? You want to come up and give your favor?
My name is Mark Gilbert. I live at 3734 Woodsong Drive. I just wanted to come and support Janicia. I've known Janicia for a very long time. I have it all typed out because I have ADD and it'd be hard for you to keep up with me. Good evening. My name is Mark Gilbert. I'm a lifelong Colerain Township citizen and currently in the middle of my second term at the Northwest Local School District Board of Education, where I am currently serving as the vice president. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening on behalf of Janicia King. I am honored to take a few minutes out of my day to make a public statement in support of Janicia and her proposal to Colerain Township. There are two positions that I would like to address in my support regarding Janicia. First, personally, I have known Janicia for nearly 8 years. We initially met working at Talbot House, where we built and managed a medical division in the very large nonprofit organization. Janicia and I were tasked to build a new medical service line consisting of primary care services and establishments in multiple clinics throughout Southwest Ohio. Our efforts were successful to the tune of new revenue source of over $1 million in billable revenue for the agency within the very first 18 months of the service line. Through this process, I got to know what makes Janicia tick. Janicia is one of the most generous servant leaders that I've ever met. Janicia has very strong family values and is supported by her entire family. They deeply believe in her and are equally committed to her success. Janicia is one of the bravest entrepreneurs that I have ever met. She works very hard and cuts no corners. Starting an independent practice in a new neighborhood is a scary venture, as we could all imagine. She could have easily looked for a location more in her backyard of where she lives, but she has completed her due diligence and located her practice in a community where her services are deeply needed. I am confident that Genesia will be successful and directly impact Colerain Township and the surrounding community. I also want to take a moment to recognize Genesia's service to our country. During our time at Talbot House, Genesia managed working at Talbot House in the medical service line, providing professional services in a private practice that she had already established. And she also, along with her mother, developed a school to educate interested people in becoming STNAs, which is a very needed position within healthcare. And all this time, she still made her commitment to the military all this time and met all of her requirements. So clearly she is a go-getter and a very hard worker. So professionally, I want to speak about the need of the services that Genesia would bring to our community. With over 6 years on the Northwest School Board, I have had an inside look at our community through the eyes of our school district. Prior to COVID-19 pandemic, our community was in need of behavioral health services. This need grows year after year. Healthcare organizations are not willing to invest in these services because they make no money at them. So it leaves companies like Talbot House to fill the gaps. This is where agencies like Talbot House and Genesia would take care of the needs. Behavioral health support for children is an even greater need and even very more difficult to find practitioners to take care of children. Children's Hospital is overwhelmed with their inpatient and their outpatient services and can take weeks to months to get care. More and more students are entering into our district that require additional behavioral health needs. Historically, there used to be other establishments managed by the county funds to provide these services to our kids and our families. These county programs have disappeared, and the task has fallen on the public school districts. The district and families are having to manage more and more of these needs of their own. Currently, Northwest transports kids to multiple counties to get the needs that they are required to have. After years of practice and gaining experience, Genesia has chosen to settle into a child-centric practice. Genesia participated in our Northwest back-to-school kickoff at the Northgate Mall and received several referrals that approached her during that program. So now we can talk about post-COVID. Our educators have never had to manage a post-pandemic aftermath like they have recently. All of us have heard of behavioral challenges in our schools since coming back from COVID. Many kids were sequestered and left to tend for themselves for nearly 2 years. This has created a very big need for behavioral health with these children. Northwest Local School District is mandated by the state of Ohio to provide many of our students behavioral health needs who have these additional needs. Northwest utilizes many wraparound services to provide the care required by the outlined by the Ohio Revised Code. However, there are many more needs that need to be met, and Genesia brings a solution to those needs. I am 100% confident that she will be an incredible female minority business owner within the Colerain Township community. And so my recommendation is for Genesia's business to move forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else speaking in favor? Anyone speaking in opposition? Seeing a motion, can I have a motion to close the public forum?
I'll make a motion to close the public portion.
Okay, motion's been made. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion and second made. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Mr. Berthold,
Yes.
Ms. Owens,
Yes.
Mr. Shupp,
Yes.
Mr. Sydow,
Yes.
Mr. Roberto.
Yes. So, Mr. Seidel, would you like to start us off for any questions for the applicant or anyone that spoke this evening?
No, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Shupp?
Yeah, I have a question for Genesia.
You could approach the bench, Genesia.
The staff was, in their recommendation for approval, they were saying that there would not be more than 3 staff members present at any given time. Is that a number workable?
Yeah, I think so. I do have people that work with me remotely as well. Remote staff.
Okay, I have no more questions.
Ms. Owens?
No questions.
Mr. Bartle?
Well, piggybacking onto that, how many people would be there at any one time? Like how many clients?
It just depends. I mean, majority, I would say 80% of my clients now are pretty much telehealth. I mean, since COVID, more people have gotten used to want to do telehealth visits.
Right. Okay, thanks.
So, in this particular instance, you bought a residence with the intent of making a business out of it? Was that what the plan was? And you just didn't realize that it was zoned residential and you couldn't do that?
Didn't realize the zoning.
Okay. And there's no issues with any of the building changes?
Looks great.
Okay. I have no further questions. Do we have a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the variance as presented by staff, including the recommendation for the number of staff members being in the building.
Okay, motion's been made.
I'll second it.
Second. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Bartol?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Mr. Shuck?
Yes.
Mr. Sydow?
Yes.
Mr. Roberto?
Yes. Your appeal has been granted, and you'll see them tomorrow to get your certificate.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yep. Thanks. All right, so the next case would be BZA 2023-17, property located at 8656 Forfeit Run Road. Does the staff have a presentation?
I do. BZA 2023-17. The applicant, Rick Davis, is applying on behalf of the property owner, Andrew Obert. The applicant is requesting a variance in section 10.2.3B of the Colerain Township zoning resolution to allow for an accessory building that is 20 feet in height. Case details: there is extremely steep terrain at this area of the township and on this property specifically. The property sits on an extremely high slope that would make it impossible to build the accessory building on a completely flat piece of land. Anywhere that the building is built, it would need to be built into the side of a hill. There would be no rear access if it were built into the side of the hill. When it's built in the side of a hill, there's no ground access. The proposed rear access of height of 15 feet will not allow for a door tall enough to safely walk through the back of the building into the loft. The variance will allow the door at the rear into the loft at the top of the hill. And I know that's confusing, but I'll show you some pictures of it.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, so
Hold your iPad up and let us see.
may need to turn it off and back on, unfortunately. When we turn it back on, we'll see the sight line.
Okay.
This will be fixed. You can't fix it though.
You can get him to go in there and do hand puppets or something.
Yeah, I guess so. I can act it all out. 15 feet. Sorry, folks.
So how bad are you sweating right now?
Yeah. I'm already sick and sweating. Okay, it's back on for now.
There we go.
Here's the building.
Very
Okay,
good.
so if you direct your attention to the top right corner, you'll see there's a door in this loft area. That would be on the ground on the hill behind the building, if that makes sense. If not, we have several more diagrams. So the one on the left is the front of the building. The one on the right would be the rear of the building. This bottom portion would be against the hill. Okay, we have a zoning issue. The permitted accessory building is over 15 feet in height, as we discussed. Okay, so if you look at this left, that's the house. If you look at the retaining wall, you can kind of see how steep it is. It was a very steep property. And if you look at the middle picture, you can see the piece of house, and it shows the gravel road going up the hill to where the barn would sit. And if you look at this little piece of retaining wall on the right picture to match up, you can see where the site will be with the accessory building. It should come back on. Okay. Okay, this is exactly where it would be. You see the red line. You can walk across that. It's flat. So that would be the back of the building where you would go into that door that was on the right side of this picture. Is that clear to everybody? Okay. So the hardship that's being claimed is that there's nowhere flat to put this barn where you could walk into the back of it. He wants to ride his mower up that path and drive into the back door and park it in the loft. Okay. Zoning issue 2. And this was discovered by staff on a site visit 2 days ago. All off-street parking areas, driveways, and this is not in your packet, and aisles of for residential uses on lots smaller than 1 acre shall be graved and paved with asphalt or concrete surfaces. This is not paved, and we are under 1 acre on this property. We'll get back to that. Okay, so that's the second zoning issue. So the staff findings for the Duncan factors, the 3 most important are, it's staff's opinion that the request is not substantial in nature. I don't believe anyone will hardly even see it unless they drive directly by. There's basically no visibility from the neighbors. And for that reason also, number 3, it's staff's opinion the essential character of the neighborhood will not be substantially altered and adjoining properties will not suffer a detriment. And then 7, it's staff's opinion that the spirit and intent behind the zoning resolution would be observed and substantial justice done by granting this variance. So for that reason, staff recommends approval of variance request with the potential condition that applicant must pave the driveway and all surfaces that will be driven over to access their accessory structure. And with that, that's the end of my presentation.
Thank you. Any questions for staff?
Just one. Did you say the contingency being paving just to this new structure or all the paving?
Anywhere that a car would drive, since it has garage doors, I believe needs to be paved,
Okay.
and so that we're not kicking gravel onto the road.
Right. Okay.
Any other questions for staff? Is the applicant present? Come give your presentation, please. Name and address for the record.
My name is Rick Davis, long-time resident and operation of my business in Colerain Township. I reside at 5346 Race Road. I'd like to point out a couple more issues. David, if I could, can you
Which
approach
picture would
that
you
thing?
like? Do you want me to go to Google Maps? Or?
Go to your three pictures,
Okay, you got
comparison
it.
pictures. That's a good one to start with.
Start here?
I'd just like to point out that this building is designed uniquely for this site because number one of the things that David forgot to point out is the guy does have a motorhome and he does have a boat and he's wanting to put them into storage. So that's a unique request in that the header height of the garage doors are high to get the objects in and out off the street. There's a lot of that down 4-foot run. There's a lot of storage of these types of vehicles that, quite honestly, if it were more of a residential area, they wouldn't even be permitted according to the zoning. You can't even drive your business vehicle into driveways. But this thing being designed the way it is, leave this one here. So in other words, you see this berm right here. So I don't know how far down the hill Dave was when he took it. Well, there's the mailbox. So this berm almost intercepts half of the building facade from the street. From a street value looking at it, the berm uniquely hides it to begin with. And secondly, then the design with the hillside. Go back to that one with the red line, Dave.
Okay.
Sorry. So yeah, even that one. That's fine. So as this is the normal slope of the hillside is kind of twisted here. This portion is out further than this over here, and this is pretty much the way it is. This side over here would be the ramp, if you would, to go up. But like David said, the threshold of that loft, that attic storage, is small space, but the garage is designed small enough that it just houses the 2 vehicles. We can go back to that picture. So he wanted to put some tools and his gardening equipment up in the loft. And so therefore, the mid-height is restrictive to this design. And it's one more thing I want to point out is that this slope coming down, I've done this before, and a lot of times the building ends up being half engulfed. So where you take your mid-height measurement for the rake, it's the gable halfway up, where you take that measurement, it's really, the code is kind of thrown out of whack as far as pleasing that issue from a standpoint that where do you measure mid-height? This building is surrounded by earth on 3 sides, and so the mid-height, is in question whether or not it's even offensive at all. We took this area, if you know Forfeit Run, there are several buildings on Forfeit Run alone that the buildings exceed well over 20 feet. There are barns and certain things like that, and structures there that are well over 20 feet. And the decor of this building is to match this gable, so that the two will be finished and dressed, go to the plan picture with the loft. The thing would be finished out, this gable would be finished out in the same decor of the house, so very pleasing. And that's the portion you will see from the road. You won't even, there's a line here from that berm that's out in front. So it's very invasive to any, I feel, to any native area. So that's what I got. So I'm done.
Thank you. Anyone else speaking in favor? I see none. Any speaking in opposition? I see none. Can we close the public portion?
I'll make the motion.
Great. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Barthold?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Mr. Shupp?
Yes.
Mr. Sydow?
Yes.
Mr. Roberto?
Yes. Ms. Owens, you have any questions? Okay. Mr. Seidel?
Yes, I have a question for the gentleman. How tall are the RV and the boat that the garage doors are so tall?
Yes. So an RV, streetlights are 14 feet. RVs are obviously less than 14 feet, but there's a header requirement there. So in other words, the building height is higher, but the garage door header is down 2 feet. So they're street legal with that. But am I answering your question? The height of the vehicle?
Yes.
I would imagine no taller than 11 feet. Motorhome. They sometimes have racks on them and so forth, but yeah, the header height is not that high.
Okay.
Yes. And I might point out that my customer is aware of the hardened surface required by the BZA or by the zoning, not violation, but the zoning request that it be hard surface of the gravel. So that's fine. So make it contingent upon the hard surface that he's planning on it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, sir.
Mr. Shep?
No.
Mr. Bartle?
Just one for staff, related to the hard surfacing of
Correct.
driveways. What looks like a ramp, which will be leading up and around this new building for the lawnmower, that doesn't have to be
It
paved.
wouldn't, I wouldn't believe that we would require that in zoning.
Yeah, so we can eliminate that ramp.
Yeah, we don't need that, just the part that vehicles would drive on to get to the doors.
Okay, thanks.
Man, it seems tall to me. Could this not also be remedied just by adding more length to the garage? Putting the lawnmower down at the ground level instead of in the loft?
Good. It's, like I say, it's just the roof, obviously the roof being
Come back up to the podium. Thank you.
The roof structure, bear in mind, the foundation is special designed. to be as retaining such. So there are 2 mats of steel. The foundation is very extensive thickness, because essentially it will be in
Retaining wall. Yeah.
correct. And so that concrete, which is degradable to Mother Earth and weather conditions, so the wood portion of the roof extends up. So uniquely, it's designed with what we call an attic truss. There's a small portion of space that enables that amount of storage and not have the extreme cost of lengthening the building and bearing more money on the foundation. He's already into that. So you got the roof there, we're just taking advantage of it with an attic, what they call an attic truss.
It's cheaper to go up than out.
Absolutely, because the foundation's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I go back to the 14-foot door too. It seems really, really tall.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't own a mobile home or an RV, but that's part of what's driving the overall height is your garage doors are 14 feet.
Mm-hmm.
May I say something?
Yes, you may.
Staff is arguing that they have a hardship because of the land features, but we're not arguing that he has a hardship due to needing to park his RV. So we're not saying that you need a door that tall or that that's what the variance is about. It's about the height of the building.
Right.
That's why I didn't mention before, or needing a place to park his lawnmower. So I just wanted the record to show our argument is only based on the landscaping, or
Well, it's based upon the 20 foot, but my statement is, all right, if we put an 8-foot garage door on there, now we get closer to the height that is required.
yeah. So you could make a recommend, or you could rule that they can have a 20-foot building, but they have to have a shorter garage because
Well, then
we're
it's
not.
not, I mean, that's a moot at
Yeah.
that point. I mean, right, the solution, the hardship is they're creating it themselves because they're making it a 14-foot garage door. Consequently, that drives everything else taller. If you would have a standard garage door there, then it's 4 foot shorter.
Understand.
Well, may I say that it's driven because of the foundation needs for the retention of that steep slope. So the foundation is still requested to be the height that's requested. We couldn't shorten the foundation. The foundation peaks right at that next
So
terrace.
you're telling me the trusses sit on the foundation goes all the way to the top of the trusses?
The trusses sit right on the foundation wall, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes. So that is a hardship because of the steep terrain. We want to push the building back enough into the hillside
Yeah, there's room to move around.
to generate privacy and turnaround up on the plateau.
Yeah.
Twofold reason. At the same time, it uniquely fits the terrain. And
All the residents were in the area were notified, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
no one's here to object. That's fine. I know there's a workaround, but you answered it with the concrete wall, so that's perfect. Thank you. Do we have so we are in question process, right? So anyone want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve it with the staff's, also the staff's recommendation to put the hard surface driveway in.
Okay.
Second it.
So to be clear, it's going to be approved with the addition of adding a concrete or blacktop driveway. Correct? All right. Roll call vote?
Mr. Barthold,
Yes.
Ms. Owens,
Yes.
Mr. Shupp,
Yes,
Mr. Sidow,
Yes.
Mr. Roberto.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Very good. Next, thank you. Next case would be BZA 2023-18 for the property located at 2778 Banning Road. Does the staff have a presentation?
I do.
Thank you.
BZA 2023-18, the applicant, Dwayne Shearer, is applying on behalf of the property owner, Sinron Enterprises LLC. The applicant is requesting a variance to Table 7-1 of the Colerain Township zoning resolution to allow for non-residential uses in the R6 residential zone, similarly to another case we heard earlier today. The requested uses are not clear, unfortunately. Even after meeting with the applicant, I'm not exactly sure what he wants to do on this property. He says ministry, but that can mean a lot of different things to a lot of people. So we would absolutely need some clarity to what uses are and are not approved there. And it's similar to BZA 2023-16 with Ms. King earlier. This area is R6, but has many businesses that are operating in the residential neighborhood. If the uses that Mr. Shearer requested are not prohibited in R6, a variance could allow these uses, and they will not negatively alter the character of the neighborhood. Mr. Shearer owns the business next door. While he has the goal of leasing the property in question, which is the one we're talking about at 2778 Banning Road, he stated to staff that he already owns the business next door. The business next door is operating as a child care facility, and it's staff's opinion that the business is upstanding and legitimate. We also want to avoid spot zoning. I won't go over that again, but that is in play in this case as well. So the zoning issue number 1 is table 7.1, the residential use table. Well, I don't really know how to examine this because what uses specifically? Ministry's not on there. Feeding hungry people's not on there. Marriage counseling's not on there. So none are permitted, but none are prohibited, really. The applicant claims outright that he's not a religious place of worship, as he won't be holding like services there. And then we talk again about 4.4.2a, the variance review criteria. Again, nothing that he requested is specifically prohibited, so I would leave it to the board to their discretion to interpret that piece of code. Okay. This is the site plan, and this shows the building at 2780, the building at 2778. So 2780 is the daycare that I spoke of, that I visited 2 days ago. It's the one with the brown building. The site plan above it is just like specs of it. And the property in question is the one with the gray building, 2778. So they're roughly the same size. All this parking, let me see if I can get a pointer. Yeah. Okay, good. All this parking here is for the daycare. It's very nice, organized, like concrete. And then there's a playground in the back. So there would be a shared parking agreement between this property that Mr. Shearer claims that he owns and 2778, which is the property in question. So that would alleviate the fact that there isn't much parking here. Staff would request on a zoning level that you, if approved, the applicant officially submits a shared parking agreement. That's not really part of the BZA case, but they would need to do that just to show that they have enough parking for the site. To show the non-residential kind of character of this neighborhood, this is a very industrial looking rundown building next door, not in great shape. And this shows that if the applicant is allowed to do whatever uses he wants to do there, that wouldn't really affect the neighborhood because they already have some sort of industrial vacated building there. And to contrast that, this is the property in question. So this looks a lot more like a house in staff's opinion than this does, which is literally right next door. And then it's cutting out. Okay, good. This is the parking lot for the daycare. In the back, you can see the playground. It looks like a school inside. It's very nice looking, in my opinion. And then you can see right here, this is the building in question. So they're very close, just adjacent to each other. The parking lot would make sense to share. This is an aerial overview. The star is the property in question. And this is the vacant kind of industrial building. There's old aerial photography with cars parked all around here. So again, that's just another point that the residential character of the neighborhood wouldn't really be altered in a negative manner. There's also this big green space that the daycare owns that's a buffer between the house next door and the daycare. So the Duncan factors, again. Number 2, it's staff's opinion that the request itself is not substantial in nature, depending upon the uses, I'll say, because we already have the daycare next door. We already have some non-residential activity. And for that same reason, number 3, it's staff's opinion that the essential character of the neighborhood would not be substantially altered and the adjoining properties would not suffer a detriment. And number 5, it's staff's opinion that the property owner who purchased the property, or when he started this process, Mr. Shearer, wasn't aware of the zoning restrictions on the property. We do recommend that the Board of Zoning Appeals holds on the requested variance for the property located at 2778 Banning until we officially have some specific intended uses that the applicant can show exactly what he'll be doing there, so we don't give some big blanket variance for all kinds of things that we didn't intend to happen there. Not that that's the applicant's intention, but we want to be very careful because variances are forever. And that's the end of staff's presentation.
Okay, any questions for staff? See none. Is the applicant present? Come and give your presentation, please. Did you sign in?
I'm sorry, can you sign in? My bad. Thank you, sir. And you as well, approach the bench, and he'll have you sign in there. Sorry about that.
Name and address, please. Are you speaking as well, ma'am? Yeah. Sure, that's fine. I'll do a double star on there. Thank you.
And then just state your name and address for the record.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. My name is Dwayne Shear. This is my wife, Christine Shear. Address is 2780 Banning Road.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. We are here tonight for 2778 Banning Road. We're a nonprofit. We have a nonprofit organization called Union Center Ministries. And through that ministry, we do marriage mentoring. We do men's groups, women's groups. We reach out to single parents. We do benevolent services, which means we help people with when they're in hardship with finances, like paying their gas and electric, food, and things like that. We do have some items to show you. I give them to you. Take them up.
Approach the bench.
And we also are owners of a couple of daycares.
Am I keep these, or are these, you want
Yes,
these
you
back?
may keep.
All right, just to let the record show, we're seeing an LLC. We're seeing a marriage certificate,
Marriage mentor certification.
We've got a daycare learning center pamphlet, as well as some flyers for a certificate.
Screenshots of our website.
So we'll show that around to the board. Thank you.
So for this building, we actually talked with the owners about purchasing the building, and we're proposing to use a facility as a hub for our ministry to host our groups, which we host now weekly in our home. And we do men's groups and marital groups. We also do counseling for married couples. So we're looking to have those sessions in the building, as well as doing banquets in the building for the couples who come through our courses, just to celebrate them and let them know, that they're on the right track. So we will be using the facility for that reason, as well as we're proposing to do the front half of the building as a daycare to help support the ministry that we're doing. And it's kind of like a spillover from the daycare that we have. We've been there since 2010, 13 years. We have repeat families coming through. We do hardly any advertising, so our business is really through word of mouth. We try to provide a quality service, which I believe we have for 13 years. And many of our parents are looking for, we can only have 65 kids in the building. Many of our parents who stay with us have additional kids that we cannot assist them with. So this building would allow us to do that for them through a school-age program in the front of the building, which would also supplement the ministry that we would propose to have there.
Okay. Anything else to present on it?
No, that's it.
And ma'am, do you want to speak as well?
Sure.
Your name and address for the record, please.
Christine Shear, 2780 Banning. I will kind of just piggyback on what Dwayne said as far as the child care center is concerned. We have many parents who are really requesting, can you get a school age program? We need, we have these older children. They don't want to take them other places because they have been with us for years. So being able to service them would be a tremendous help to them, so that they're not having to go to two different child care centers. It wouldn't be a hardship when it comes to more like the parking spaces and things like that, because it would be virtually the same clients that we are servicing right now. And then as far as our ministry is concerned, again, as we know, it's been mentioned even tonight with COVID and, post-COVID, pre-COVID, things like that. The world is in need of help. And so we find it a pleasure to be able to assist couples and families in general, which in turn, creates a better community.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
I also would like to add with the daycare service, we'll be, hope have 3 employee positions available, if we're allowed to do that. So kind of helping the community out in that aspect as well.
Okay,
We
thank you.
currently employ 13 people at our location on Banning Road.
Thank you very much. Anyone else speaking in favor? Anyone speaking in opposition? Come give your name and address to the record, please.
Dave Ernst, 2808 Banning Road, which is the next house down, if you wanted to go back to that picture with the star on it. But my only concern about this, we already have an issue with the water. It's flooding my yard, his yard. Any more blacktop that we put down there is going to be devastating. That's my only concern. I don't really care what he does with the building, but I foresee them taking away that little green spot and putting in parking. You know what I mean? And again, the water issue is horrible down there. He's already doubled the size of his driveway with no way for the water to go but down into my yard. You know, it goes through that vacant property. Yeah, here we go. I used to have that property years ago, and if I can show you up here.
Yeah.
What we used to have, the driveway was only this wide, and what we did is we had a curb on it that would take all the water from the back and all that, run it right down to the catch basin. Well, he did away with the curb, and, well, the catch basin is still there, but it's pretty much null and void.
Come on back to the podium so we can hear you. Thank you.
And again, it's just a water issue. I don't care what he does with the building. It's inevitable that it's gonna have more of a water issue. That's really all I've got to say.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else speaking in favor or against? Okay, go on, sir. Did you sign in? You did sign in? No, you didn't sign in my sheet. Here. Name and address for the record, please. Thanks, sir.
Sworn in?
Yeah, do you swear affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth before the Board of Zoning Appeals? Say I do. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Good evening. Yeah, my concern is also the
Can you
water.
say your name and address for the record?
Jeff Weller, 2800 Banning Road.
Thank you, sir.
That it goes through Dave's property, and the catch basin was like right in my front yard. So it's been an issue. The township's been out there, the MSD, whatever, and it's still a problem. And also, I mean, I heard a daycare, a ministry, and now mental health. It just seems like, you know, they're splitting the building up into 3 separate businesses. A banquet center. I mean, there's enough traffic that they use that as a cut through from Colerain to Pippin. You know, there's a bank right there. I mean, it gets a lot of traffic anyway. I mean, if banquet centers where they hold parties, wedding receptions, I mean, is this going to be after hours, or, you know, it just seems there's no clarification on the exact usage, and, you know, I think we have a right to know. And also, that factory is not abandoned. I mean, that's a machine shop.
I didn't think so.
Yeah,
either.
it's been there for years, and they just repainted it. It doesn't look
Yeah, Precision Instruments has been in
correct.
operation for a
It
while.
doesn't look dilapidated or nothing.
Sorry, folks, I don't live here.
Yeah.
I mean, I seen one fence panel down. I don't even think that's their privacy fence. So. Just correct for the record, but it is an
No, I was going to
operating
clarify
business.
that too as well. So.
Correct. So that's my only concerns, the water issue and, you know, clarification. And, you know, it seems like it's a multi-use building because
Okay.
So.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else speaking for or against this application? I see none. Can I have a motion to close the public portion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion's been made. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second's been made. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Mr. Bartol?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Mr. Shup?
Yes.
Mr. Sydow?
Yes.
Mr. Roberto?
Yes. I'm mixing it up tonight. Mark, you want to go ahead and start us off?
Sure. Yeah, I've got some questions for Mr. Shear.
Yes, sir.
The situation with the widening of your driveway and changing the curb, are we aware that that was creating a water problem for your neighbors?
I was not. There is a drain in front of our building that has a tube that carries the water to the front of the property. The catch basin the MSD came out because I called them and asked them if they could repair their catch basin because it was dilapidated, and they came out and did that.
Okay.
I mean, but the green space that he's talking about, there's no plans for us to blacktop that or widen the driveway, but it has a natural slope. It's always been like that, the natural slope, so the water's always did what it's doing right now, so we haven't changed that.
Okay. I guess this probably should have been a question to ask Mr. Weiler, but you may have the answer. Mr. Weiler mentioned something about a banquet center?
No.
Okay.
No, I said that we would have, for the couples that we mentor, we would have a banquet celebrations after they come through our sessions and our courses, just to celebrate them and give out the awards for all the tests and stuff that we give them and they pass. So we would have dinners for them every a couple times a quarter. We would do that, depending on how many people come through our sessions.
Okay. This wouldn't be anything you'd be intending to rent out or anything to the public? Okay. That's all I had.
Mr. Sydow?
Yes, the green space at 2780, there in front of the
Yes, sir.
building, is that gonna be turned into a parking lot, or
No, sir, not at all.
you just gonna leave that a green space?
Yes, yes. Actually, the daycare kids have their outside time there many times, so it'll stay just the way it is.
Okay. No further questions.
Ms. Owens?
Other than the daycare, have you operated the type of business that you're explaining for this particular property somewhere else? Are you currently holding these same type of services at another location?
Yes, we actually have the sessions at our home every Wednesday night. We were supposed to have one tonight, but we moved it till tomorrow because we're here. And on Tuesdays, we have men groups, but I have that in one of my daycare facilities. So we've been doing the ministry for 30 years. We were ordained elders at our church. We have certified mentoring license. So yes, we've been doing it for quite some time.
So the capacity of the building, I'm just a little confused. I know you said the daycare would be kind of towards the front and the other services provided would be in the rear of the building?
Yes, ma'am.
After hours.
That's what I was gonna ask. Is it gonna be doing the same hours that the child care is being provided?
It would be after hours.
And on weekends.
And on weekends and on weekends, because with childcare facilities, you have to have specific people in the midst of their childcare, their children, so that would be after hours.
This particular property, does it have the ability for there to be separate entrances for the childcare piece and then okay. And approximately how many, so if you're doing the evening type services, approximately how many visitors or customers or, families do you expect to be at the property at the same time?
Well, we hope in our home we have 7 to 10 couples. I mean, so if we had a bigger place, we could have more and help more people at one time. So I really don't know what that could be. I mean, the word of mouth gets out that we've expanded. More people might want to sign up for our services, but it's all relative to how many people sign up because it's just the two of us. So it will be limited maybe to 10 couples, so maybe 20 people at one time.
And then the banquets that you would hold would be for those couples, or would it be
Yes.
for those couples and
The couples that come.
families that want to support them as well?
Right, to get their awards. It'll be something like that. But generally, we've done them in the past. We've rented places, and it's just been the people that's come through our program. So we really haven't thought to extend it out to their families or anything like that. So.
Okay. I think those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Bertle?
So the parking at, is it 2780, the daycare?
Yes, sir.
That is required parking for a daycare? Is that, I mean, the number of spaces,
Yes.
Yeah.
is that mainly for employees?
Employees and parents. I think we have more than what was required, but
Yeah.
yeah.
And then you're going to add more daycare capacity in the other building, which would mean more employees. I'm just curious. Did we ever straighten out, I guess they do own both properties, correct? You do?
Right. I will.
You will, okay.
The one that we're here for tonight, I'm going to be purchasing that building. I own the daycare next door.
So you're purchasing or leasing?
We're going to purchase. I was in conversation with him, and he's agreed to.
But the daycare building you own?
Yes.
Okay, now you're trying to get the other building.
Right.
I'm just still curious about parking requirements, even like you brought up, like, how do you know how many parking spaces are needed if you don't quite know
Yeah.
what the use of the building is?
This is to answer your question. This is why I didn't make a recommendation, because
Yeah.
without knowing the uses, I couldn't do those formulas. I believe they'll have enough parking with the parking next door to operate both daycares. They would need to come back, I guess, if you approve it and they don't, but it would be close. But I couldn't run those scenarios without knowing what uses are gonna be going there.
Yeah,
What they're going to have capacity as far as occupancy on the other building.
Yeah, I would need to know that. I have a lot of questions if you approve it. And I can take those uses and then figure out if they have the
yeah.
required parking.
But then if more parking is necessary, the green space where those two white vans are, from there to the street, could that become paving?
After hearing the testimony in here, I would recommend that green space that was referenced between the house of the man who spoke and this property at 2780, I'd recommend that you make a condition that they can't pave that portion.
Well, I'm not talking about the green space
Okay, sorry.
to the west. I'm talking the
Oh,
green
okay,
space.
let me get my pointer. You're talking about the green space
You
right
see
here.
the two vans? Yeah, that right there.
That's what he's referencing.
It could be, yep.
But the property, that's not the green space that the other property owner was, no.
Sorry, I thought you were referencing the green space up here.
No,
which
the
we
green
don't
space
want.
where the white vans are,
Yes, that could be paved,
that could be paved, if needed.
correct.
Okay. That's fine. Yeah, it really comes down to parking. But then I don't know where, if you have to approve other things like site lighting and landscaping and those kind of issues.
Without a specific use, I didn't
Yeah.
know.
Well, I mean, you eventually would chime in on that.
Yeah, so with whatever uses you guys decide, he'll tell you what uses he wants to do. If you say, okay, you can do those uses, then he and I would work out, I need this plan, and it would just be like any normal zoning certificate.
Yeah.
Really, at this point, you're coming before the zoning commission less than BZA, because that's what we're kind of directing them on how we want him to fit in this widget into the peg.
Zoning commission, yeah, would be if we rezoned it, or made it a PD, but,
Because
he
it's
was
a
just
residential, and a business and a residential was still before our board, but I get it, but I'm getting the feeling we're playing a quasi-role of both commissions.
It is an interesting case, with all the requested uses. I don't know what ministry means. To me, it means something. To you, it might mean something different.
Right.
So really, we're just seeking clarity on what you guys would approve him to do there.
Sorry, I interjected.
That's fine. I mean, it sounds like it's childcare and then after-hours counseling and other related, not social events, but
Debt
Related
budgeting,
events.
things like that, your financial assistance.
Yes.
yeah.
All of which, that's going to be off-site anyway. I mean, are you going to have people come in for financial counseling?
Yes, if they need it, it's all part of the classes that we give, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I have any other questions. I was just trying to, so what is, if we were to approve a variance, the variance is just to allow a B use group in a residential zone?
You would say you could do childcare, marriage counseling, financial counseling there.
We
If we
would
grant-
specifically call out its use in the variance.
Correct. You'd have to say specifically, because if you grant a variance for ministry, they might have great intentions. Someone moves in 10 years, it's forever. They could put something in there we really don't want in this township,
Yeah.
so.
So,
Do you have any other questions?
no, but like if we were to grant a variance, I'm still trying, would it be childcare and it would be counseling,
Marriage and mentoring.
mentoring?
Yep.
I'm just trying to get the correct buzzwords.
Do you want to call it, you want to call it mentoring or counseling?
Mentoring.
Mentoring. What else did we say?
Financial mentoring or counseling?
Well, it's all under mentoring, whether it's financial or
Yes.
marriage.
Yes.
Any other broad,
We do benevolent service. We just help people out if they need help, assistance with their
Okay.
bills or things like that. Also, the banquets that we would have for the couples that come through our
I mean, I wouldn't even call that out because I would just leave that alone.
Yeah.
that implies like a banquet center.
You're, I mean, that's part of your marriage
Right.
mentoring.
It is. Okay.
Okay, that's,
The only thing that I have, yeah, I mean, you're done, yeah, you're yielding? The
Yeah.
only thing I have, if you're buying the property, is I would want to put a contingency that they consolidate the parcels.
Absolutely, yeah, do you agree? So what he's requesting is you would take it and make it one piece of land. It shouldn't have two buildings on it, but they're pre-existing nonconformities. So you could dissolve them into one piece of land.
But they're two separate. We have a business LLC S Corp that owns the daycare, and then this is our ministry. So they're different. Yeah, we get into tax issues with that if we combine the properties.
is there a reason why they just leave them as is? What's the downside?
Basically saying if the daycare is
Because if we
operating
consolidated
two
that,
separate
then it's,
buildings, Mr. Roberto's asking that they would make it one parcel with two buildings on it rather than two parcels with one building on each.
it's just something that Hamilton County has always wanted us to do when you have same ownership, is to consolidate parcels.
But,
I
and you're
was
saying it's,
confused as to which daycare, the current daycare or the future daycare?
Well, they would both be the same owners.
And the applicant said 2 days ago they were gonna lease the building, which is why the discussion of consolidation wasn't even in the realm.
Now, even though that they're under two different names, I mean, because the child care center presently is under an S Corp. This,
So would this new child care be a different company?
we'll put it under our ministry name.
I'm feeling pretty uncomfortable with this scenario because it almost sounds like you're hiding something there, and I know it's not intentional, but that's just how it's coming across, as you're trying to
'Cause we-
scapegoat some bureaucracy of government.
No, it's a nonprofit. I mean, everything goes through our tax guy, so he definitely keeps us in line. So I don't know if it will convolute what we're doing or how he would do that. I would definitely have to talk with our CPA
The
about that.
business would still be, the business would still be your corp. The landowner would be one of the two properties. So that's how if I was handling them a tax perspective, either your daycare owns all the land and now your other entity is renting or renting from the daycare, or vice versa, but that's how it, and then you make us happy as far as getting the land consolidated under one ownership. I don't want to create a hardship over it. I know Hamilton County wants us to do that, and we're just trying to be good.
That's something I just have to let my CPA figure that out, and yeah, that's fine.
So the intent is to purchase the building. When is that anticipated that you're going to actually own it?
I told him we can get the ball rolling as soon as we find out if we can move forward with this session.
And so I guess that goes back to, now he can't buy it until we make a decision. If we put it on hold, now he's not going to want to make this purchase until he.
It would be like a conditional kind of thing. So I'm just sorry, you said 2 days ago you were gonna lease it?
Right.
Is this something that changed in the last 2
Yes,
days?
yeah,
Okay,
it
just
is.
clarity for the record.
It is.
Sure.
Yeah.
So one of the things that, I mean, you hear your neighbor to you talking about having water issues, is are you willing or amenable to, I know this is not the same parcel, but it would be once we consolidate, would you be willing to help alleviate that maybe by putting some sort of curb to direct the water so it's not running down into the neighbor's property?
I can definitely have somebody come out and take a look at it and see what their assessment is.
so, I mean, so right now, the rear parking lot for the daycare, that doesn't have a catch basin?
Yes, it does.
Oh, it does. So that water should be going underground somewhere.
Yeah, it's a pipe running down the side.
Should
of
go to the
property.
creek.
Well,
But it probably runs to the front and then down to the creek.
Well, I'm just saying if,
There's a pipe, I can have somebody come out and take a look at it, and I'll make sure we come to some kind of agreement.
I mean,
to figure it out.
versus the water just sheeting towards the west, towards their properties. I was wondering if there's a catch basin
There is,
to collect it.
yes.
Okay. Well, staff is recommending that we hold, which to me is the same as tabling. Does anybody on the board want to go make a motion? It's up to you.
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Make a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the request for business-type uses in residential zoning, specifically being childcare, mentoring / education, and benevolent services.
Okay, you're going to do any of the other lot consolidation requirements or anything like that?
No.
Mixing the water?
No.
Okay.
Did you want to put amendment in there about leaving the green space or solving the water?
Well, we can go
Well,
for the discussion at this point. So
That's not what we're, I don't
no
think
one's made
that's,
a second motion yet, so anybody want to second that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, second has been made, discussion. Now we can talk about it.
Okay, would you want to include maybe something to keep that as a green space and maybe to address?
well, that's not what the
consolidate?
original request was for. I mean, it's their land, they're allowed to build on it. If you owned the land, would we want to keep you from building on it? They said they're not going to build on it, but I don't think we should create a hardship.
Honestly, it makes sense to have a parking lot there.
You are talking the big green space, yeah. But I don't think that's part of the overall case.
Yeah, I withdraw that.
Okay?
So
Any other
just,
discussion? Roll call vote?
just for clarity of the record, the approved uses are child care, mentoring and education and benevolent services. Mr. Bartolt,
Yes.
Ms. Owens,
Yes.
Mr. Shupp,
Yes.
Mr. Sydow,
Yes.
Mr. Roberto.
Yes. So even though that it's not in the record, I would get with your neighbor, make sure your neighbors are happy neighbors. And, you know, I personally would like to see it consolidated, but, you know, you'll be back before us again, so we'll see.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you very
God
much.
bless.
All right, bye.
Be in touch.
All right, the last case for this evening would be BZA 2023-19. It's property located at 10197 Colerain Avenue. Does the staff have a presentation?
I do. BZA 2023-19, the applicant Mike Cassidy of Atlantic Sign Company, representative for property owners Chili 3 LLC, commonly known as Skyline Chili. The applicant is requesting a variance that will allow the construction of a 22-foot, 6-inch pole along the western side of Colerain Avenue. The restaurant is located on 0.785 acres with approximately 195 feet of frontage along Colerain Avenue. The applicant claims a hardship. The applicant claims that the hardship exists due to the pole being blocked by an ODOT sign, which you'll see in an upcoming slide. The applicant has stated that there are only two choices: move the ODOT sign or grant a height variance and allow for the erection of a 22-foot pole sign. Long history of bad signs in Colerain Township is important to say. The portion of Colerain Township zoning resolution that is dedicated to signage is significant. Granting variances for sign height should only be considered in the most serious of cases. Try not to joke in this capacity, but every time I drive into work, I think Bob Evans Township because that sign is so high. That's just a case of what we want to avoid because in 15.8.3 D1, signs permitted in B2 districts, the height of a sign shall not exceed 15 feet. This is the proposed sign, which is also in your packet. There's a few more renditions of the sign. Laser pointer will show that this point is where the sign currently is, where they're wanting the same sign to be on a taller pole, exactly the same sign, but 22 feet tall. There is a sign for Skyline Chili on every side of the building. Across the street, there is a Wendy's. They do not, this is Burger King actually, and we'll see their signs kind of blocked in a minute. Down here, there's a Wendy's that does not have a pole sign or a monument sign at all. Skyline or Steak and Shake and Lowe's, their signs are about the same size as Skyline Chili's current sign. There are examples of other signs that are blocked by signs within the township, such as Bubba Coo's Burritos here. If you're sitting in one spot, you see their sign. If you drive up to the next spot, it's blocked off by Hobby Lobby's sign. This is essentially the argument Skyline's making. There are 3 parking space widths if you're turning left into the parking lot where Skyline is, where their sign is blocked by an ODOT sign indicating the interstate up ahead. Everywhere else, from every direction, you can see it. I don't know of anything that guarantees 360-degree viewing of any sign within the township. Frisch's is almost as tall as the Bob Evans sign, and you can see it from all the way down Colerain Avenue. However, as you approach it, I found a spot where it's totally hidden by an interstate sign as well. So this is all to make a point that just because you can't see it from one spot does not create a hardship that means that you get to have a taller sign. Again, Burger King peeking out behind this power box. If you're turning from Walmart onto Colerain Avenue, the Burger King sign's hidden, and that's right across the street from Skyline Chili. So Skyline Chili does not have a unique variance. In fact, Skyline Chili's sign itself blocks out Steak and Shake sign if you're at one point on the road. This is the sign in question. You see the blue sign hiding behind the ODOT road sign. However, on the building, you can see the word Skyline. So, yeah. Staff findings are the Duncan factors. Number 2, it's staff's opinion that the request itself is substantial in nature. Again, we should not be approving height variances on signs unless there's a very good reason. Number 6, it's staff's opinion the property owner's predicament could be obviated through some method other than this variance. Why don't they make it lower? A monument sign, you'd be able to see it underneath the ODOT sign. It's staff's opinion that the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would not be observed and substantial justice would not be done by granting the variance. And therefore, I recommend denial of variance request. Thank you.
Thank you. I see no applicant,
Surprising.
so we have what we have. Anybody want to make a motion? But no, wait, we got to vote. We got to make a motion to close the public portion.
I make a motion to close the public portion.
Second it?
Motion's been made and second. Any discussion? Okay. Roll call vote.
Mr. Bartle?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Mr. Shuck?
Yes.
Mr. Sydow?
Yes.
Mr. Roberto?
Yes. Now, can we have a motion to approve or deny this appeal?
I make a motion to deny the appeal.
Okay, motion's been made. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second's been made. Discussion? Roll call vote.
Mr. Bartle?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Mr. Shuck?
Yes.
Mr. Sydow?
Yes.
Mr. Roberto?
Yes.
Thank you.
Next, I see see unfinished business is none. We have minutes approved. I didn't see any minutes.
We had a lot of cases that I was working on, and I know you guys are taking a lot of time to review, and since we don't have any next month, then I wanted to not bog you down with the minutes. I also need to bring you minutes from the last several months to sign, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that'll all be done at the next meeting.
Which the next meeting at this point is going to be January the 24th. Is that correct?
We're looking at January the 24th. Because since nothing was continued and there were no applicants, we won't have any cases in December.
Okay. And yeah, we did sign a few.
Previous staff wasn't doing them, and I went back and did all of them, and I'm not sure if they ever got to you to sign. When you were emailed the minutes, did you sign them then?
There were some last month that we signed quite a few, so you may be already clear there. We just need to be probably caught up for this last month. Administrative matters, I know that you provided us a preliminary schedule for the upcoming year, so I'd ask that everyone on the board that's going to be serving next year to review it, and if there's any conflicts, let David know. And any other administrative matters?
No.
I see none. So we have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Motion's been made. Second?
Second?
Second been made. Discussion? Roll call vote?
Mr. Bartol?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Mr. Shuck?
Yes.
Mr. Sydow?
Yes.
Mr. Roberto?
Yes. Meeting adjourned.